With just a $122 million budget, the movie has already pulled in $338.2 million at the box office, and the excitement around Sonic the Hedgehog 4 is already buzzing. And there are tons of updates about the next chapter in this video game movie franchise, and even on the spin-offs. A few days before Sonic the Hedgehog 3 even hit theaters, it was revealed that Sonic 4 is set to arrive in spring 2027. This news confirms earlier reports that a fourth movie is on the way, and while we'll have to wait a little over 2 years, it fits the franchise's usual release pattern. Each sequel has had a 2-year gap, with Sonic the Hedgehog 2 landing in 2022, just 2 years after the first movie in 2020. By aiming for a spring 2027 release, Paramount is stepping into some tough competition. Though the schedule is subject to change, the next Godzilla vs. Kong movie is also set for spring 2027, March 26th, and Avengers Secret Wars is slated for May 7th, 2027. That said, Sonic the Hedgehog 4 may still find its audience as it caters to a different crowd, meaning those blockbuster titles might not pose too much of a threat. As the Sonic the Hedgehog movie series has grown, so has the cast, bringing in more beloved characters from the games. This trend will likely continue with Sonic the Hedgehog 4, especially after the introduction of some exciting new faces in Sonic 3's ending. Ben Schwartz will return as Sonic, Colleen O'Shaughnessy as Tails, and Idris Elba as Knuckles, strengthening the core trio even more after the events of the third movie. The post-credits scene of Sonic the Hedgehog 3 teased that Shadow survived the Eclipse canon, which means Keanu Reeves could be back. In fact, Idris Elba and Keanu Reeves are down for a Knuckles and Shadow spin-off show. I mean, yeah, Hollywood loves churning out content, but when the actors behind the characters are into it, you know they're either having a blast or chasing after that paycheck. But hey, these guys are serious about it. Elba, who voices Knuckles, and Reeves, who voices Shadow, both said they'd be up for a show about the two of them, calling it either Knuckles and Shadow or Shadow Knuckles. They picked these names, by the way. Personally, I think Knuckles and Shadow sounds better. Right now, though, there's no word from Paramount about making this happen. No talks, no hints, so it's probably not happening anytime soon. But honestly, here's what I'd like to see. A spin-off with Tails. We've got 3 Sonic movies, a Knuckles show, and if Sonic 3 does well, a Shadow thing is probably coming, but Tails could use more love. We don't know much about him, and the actor behind his voice doesn't get much attention, so I'd love to see his backstory, maybe even his origin story before he enters Earth in Sonic 1. Of course, if a Knuckles and Shadow show does happen, I won't complain, it's a cool idea for sure. As for Metal Sonic and Amy Rose, both are likely to be in Sonic 4, though their roles haven't been officially cast yet. In Sonic 3, Metal Sonic and Amy Rose had brief cameos, with Ray Chase and Cindy Robinson voicing them in the games. The ending of Sonic the Hedgehog 3 was expectedly open-ended, wrapping up a few storylines, but mostly setting the stage for the conflict in Sonic 4. Dr. Ivo Robotnik and Shadow turned on the more sinister Dr. Gerald Robotnik, saving the Earth from the Eclipse cannon, but it seemed to cost them their lives. While Shadow was shown to have survived, Dr. Robotnik's fate remains unclear. This could create tension in the sequel, as Sonic and his team deal with the aftermath of losing their former enemy turned ally. A logical direction for Sonic 4 could involve Sonic, Tails, Knuckles, Amy Rose, and possibly even Shadow, battling robotic impersonators while trying to uncover who created them in the first place. They might not have much time to think about it though, since the mid-credit scene showed an army of robotic Sonics, with Amy Rose and her hammer swooping in to save the day. A good direction for Sonic the Hedgehog 4 could be Sonic, Tails, Knuckles, Amy Rose, and maybe even Shadow teaming up to take on the robotic lookalikes while trying to figure out who made them. Amy Rose's arrival could stir things up within the group, and the dynamic between Sonic, Tails, and Knuckles might shift with the addition of a fourth member. If they stick with Amy's character from the games, she could develop a crush on Sonic, which could add some extra tension to their mission. The Wachowskis will likely be involved too, and with Tom recovering from the events of Sonic 3, he might be less keen on getting into the action in Sonic 4. But I don't want to rule out Jim Carrey's Robotnik just yet. I'm actually hoping he returns for Sonic 4, and there are theories about how he could still make a comeback. One idea is that Robotnik survived the Ark explosion at the end of Sonic 3. Since Shadow made it through, why not Robotnik? The simplest explanation could be that Robotnik just survived the explosion, and it doesn't need much explanation, considering how Sonic 2 never fully clarified how Robotnik survived that battle. It might just become a known fact that Robotnik always finds a way to come back, no matter how bad things look. Plus, since Sonic 3's post-credit scene showed Shadow surviving the Ark explosion, it makes sense that Robotnik could have made it out too. Another theory is that Dr. Robotnik could have cloned himself before Sonic 4 as part of a backup plan. Given his genius, it's not too far-fetched to think Robotnik might have figured out how to clone himself in the Sonic universe. This would be a clever way to get around his apparent death in Sonic 3 and could even explain how he managed to survive at the end of Sonic 2. Plus, this idea might have been hinted at in Sonic 3 when Robotnik mentioned he was going to clone Agent Stone. Another possibility is that Jim Carrey could play another member of the Robotnik family in Sonic 4. In the current Sonic franchise, we've seen Ivo, his grandfather Gerald, and his cousin Maria Robotnik as the main family figures. Jim Carrey has already portrayed both Ivo and Gerald in Sonic 3, so maybe Sonic 4 will introduce a new Robotnik family member looking for revenge on Sonic for Ivo's death, perhaps a brother or even Ivo's father. The next theory is that Jim Carrey could return as Dr. Robotnik through Sonic's multiverse. The Sonic franchise has its own multiverse, with different zones representing alternate realities. One of these zones is where the Sonic Boom characters come from, which featured a different version of Robotnik. So maybe Sonic 4 could bring in Jim Carrey as an alternate Robotnik from a different reality, arriving in the main zone where the live-action movies take place. Finally, there's the exciting possibility that Jim Carrey could return not as Dr. Robotnik, but as the voice of Metal Sonic. In Sonic 3's post-credit scene, we saw multiple versions of Metal Sonic, setting him up as a major antagonist for Sonic 4. In the original games, Metal Sonic was one of Robotnik's greatest creations, able to match Sonic's speed and abilities. He's known for coming back stronger each time, making him one of Sonic's most dangerous foes. It would be amazing to hear Jim Carrey voice this mechanical version of Robotnik's legacy in Sonic 4, keeping Robotnik's sacrifice at the end of Sonic 3 intact while still bringing him back in a new form. This is like a last resort for me, though. Well, that's it. Who do you think should return, and do you have any theories about what might happen next? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you never miss an update on this and other awesome upcoming movies. Catch you next time.